I did the math, and for most people over 60, your job is actually costing you more than it pays you. We work for security, but at what cost to our longevity? I am going to help you calculate the real cost of your job after age 60, and it goes way beyond your paycheck. We need to have an honest conversation about time. We will cover the stress tax on your body, assessing your real enough number, and signs that your job is actually shortening your health span. Let's do the math. Society tells us we have two choices. We can grind until we drop, or we can retire completely and risk running out of money. It feels like an impossible choice. You look at your bank account and feel fear. You look at the calendar and feel panic. You worry that if you stop earning now, you will be vulnerable later. But there is a third variable in this equation that nobody talks about. It is the biological cost of stress on a body that has already served 6 decades on this planet. Before you clock in for another year, you need to understand the biological reality of what that year costs. When you were 30, a stressful week at work was exhausting, but you bounced back by Monday morning. Your cortisol levels spiked, then dropped. Your blood pressure normalized. Your body repaired itself. Now that you are over 60, that recovery mechanism has changed. Science shows that as we age, our bodies become less efficient at clearing stress hormones. That tightness in your chest during a meeting doesn't just disappear when you drive home. It lingers. The cortisol stays in your system longer, disrupting your sleep, increasing inflammation, and putting pressure on your heart. This is what I call the stress tax. Think of it like a high-interest loan. Every time you push through fatigue to meet a deadline, you are borrowing energy from your future. You are paying interest in the form of elevated blood sugar and stiff joints. The question you have to ask yourself is simple. Is the money you are earning enough to cover the interest payments on your health? For many people, the answer is no. You might be earning a salary, but you are spending a fortune in biological capital. If you are finding value in this reality check, please take a moment to subscribe. It helps us keep bringing you honest, age-positive conversations that you won't hear in the mainstream media. Now, let's look at the financial fear that keeps us locked in these jobs. It is the fear of running out. We have been programmed since our 20s to save, accumulate, and grow. That habit is hard to break. We see a number in our retirement account, and a voice in our head says it is not enough. But what is enough? Most people calculate their enough number based on their current high-stress lifestyle. You spend money to cope with work. You buy convenience food because you are too tired to cook. You pay for dry cleaning. You take expensive vacations because you are desperate to escape the grind. You might have a second car for the commute. When you stop working, the cost of living often drops significantly. You have the time to cook healthy meals, which is cheaper and better for you. You don't need the professional wardrobe. You don't need the escape vacations because you aren't trying to run away from your daily life. I want you to look at your expenses and circle everything that is directly related to your job. Include the coffees, the lunches, the gas, the clothes, and the convenience costs. Subtract that from your monthly spending. That is your real baseline. You might find that you need far less than you think to live a happy, comfortable life. There is a psychological trap called one more year syndrome. You tell yourself you will work just one more year to pad the savings. Then that year ends and you say, just one more, it becomes a cycle. The problem is that money has diminishing returns. The difference between having a comfortable safety net and a luxurious safety net is nice, but the difference between retiring at 62 and 67 is 5 years of your healthiest remaining time. Time is the one asset you cannot earn back. You can always make more money, even in small ways, but you cannot buy back your early 60s. These are often called the go-go years. This is the window where you likely have your health, your mobility, and your mental sharpness all working together. Trading these prime years for a slightly larger number on a screen is a bad investment strategy. You might be thinking, but I enjoy my work. It gives me purpose. That is a valid point. Purpose is essential for longevity. Studies consistently link a sense of purpose with lower risks of cognitive decline and heart disease. But purpose and a 40-hour work week are not the same thing. You can find purpose without the stress. You can mentor, you can volunteer. You can work part-time on your own terms. The danger comes when your entire identity is wrapped up in your job title. We fear retirement because we fear becoming invisible. We walk into a room and nobody asks us what we do anymore. This identity crisis is what keeps many of us working long past the point of diminishing returns. We are afraid of the quiet. We are afraid of having to introduce ourselves without a label. But reclaiming your identity is part of the work of this life stage. You are not your job. You are a sum of your experiences, your wisdom, and your relationships. Here is a practical test to see if you should keep working. It is called the Sunday night test. Pay attention to how you feel at 6 p.m. on a Sunday. Do you feel a knot in your stomach? Do you feel dread creeping in? Do you get irritable with your spouse? If your body is physically reacting to the thought of Monday morning, it is screaming at you to stop. That dread is your nervous system telling you that the load is too heavy. Listen to it. Ignoring that signal is how we end up with sudden health events that force us to retire anyway. It is much better to walk away on your own terms than to be carried out on a stretcher. Let's talk about the visibility gap. One of the reasons work becomes more stressful after 60 is the feeling of being overlooked or undervalued. You might notice that younger colleagues are getting the exciting projects. You might feel like you have to work twice as hard just to prove you are still relevant. This constant need to prove yourself is exhausting. It drains your mental battery. You are fighting a battle against ageism that you shouldn't have to fight. If you are in a workplace that doesn't value your wisdom, you are swimming upstream. That effort burns energy that you should be using to enjoy your life. There is a middle ground that often gets ignored. We tend to think in binary terms, working or retired, on or off. But the smartest, savvy seniors are rewriting the rules. They are negotiating, phasing down. Imagine going to your employer and proposing a 3-day work week. You keep your health insurance, you keep a portion of your income, but you gain 4 days of freedom every single week. You might take a pay cut, but remember our earlier calculation. You are also cutting the stress tax. If your current employer says no, you have leverage. You can take your skills elsewhere as a consultant. You can work on projects that excite you and say no to the ones that drain you. This is about moving from being an employee to being the CEO of your own life. Let's address the elephant in the room: healthcare costs. In many countries, health insurance is tied to employment. This is a massive factor. It is the golden handcuffs. If this is your situation, you need to do a deep dive into the alternatives. Look at the marketplace options. Look at what coverage looks like if you bridge the gap until government benefits kick in. Often, we assume the cost is impossible without actually getting a quote. We stay in a job we hate to save $500 a month on premiums, while the stress of that job is likely causing health issues that will cost thousands to treat. Do the research. Knowledge lowers fear. When you have actual numbers on a piece of paper, the monster in the closet gets smaller. You might find that the cost of private insurance is worth the price of your freedom. Another objection I hear constantly is about inflation. Prices are going up. What if my savings aren't worth as much in 10 years? This is a real concern, but working yourself into an early grave to beat inflation is not the answer. You can hedge against inflation by adjusting your lifestyle, not just your income. Learning to live with a smaller footprint is a powerful skill. It gives you resilience. When you need less, you are less fragile. You are less dependent on the economy and more dependent on your own resourcefulness. Think about the legacy you are leaving. I don't mean money, I mean the memory of you. Do you want your grandchildren to remember you as the person who was always tired? The person who was always checking emails on vacation? Or do you want them to remember you as present, joyful, and available? Your time is the greatest gift you can give your family. No amount of inheritance can replace the memories of you being there, fully present, not distracted by work stress. If you are still on the fence, try the simulation method. For the next 3 months, live strictly on your projected retirement income. Save every single penny of the rest. Do not touch it. This does 2 things. First, it supercharges your savings for these last few months. Second, and more importantly, it proves to you that you can survive. If you can live comfortably on that amount while you are still working, imagine how much easier it will be when you remove the work-related expenses. If you find you cannot live on that amount, then you have clear data. You know exactly how much of a gap you need to close. Maybe that means working 1 more year, but with a specific goal in mind, not just working out of fear, but working with a finish line. When you have a finish line, the stress changes. It becomes manageable because you know it is temporary. You can endure a lot when you know exactly when it ends. There is also the option of the gap year. Who says gap years are only for teenagers? You can take a year off at 60, rest, recover, travel, see how it feels. If you decide you miss working, you can go back. You have skills. The workforce is changing, and there is a high demand for experienced, reliable workers who can jump in and solve problems. You don't have to burn the bridge. You can just step off the path for a while. Give your body a chance to reset. You might find that after 6 months of rest, your brain fog clears, your energy returns, and you want to work again, but on something completely different, something that brings you joy. Let's look at the concept of health span versus lifespan. Lifespan is how long you are alive. Health span is how long you are healthy, active, and independent. Working a high-stress job past 60 might not shorten your lifespan immediately, but it almost certainly attacks your health span. It eats away at your mobility. Sitting at a desk for 40 years tightens your hips and weakens your back. The stress impacts your cognitive function. We think work keeps us sharp, But chronic stress actually shrinks the hippocampus, the part of the brain responsible for memory. So, you are trading your mobile, sharp, healthy years for money that you will likely spend on managing the decline caused by the work itself. It is a vicious cycle. Breaking it requires courage. It requires stepping off the treadmill that everyone else is running on. Start small. Start by setting harder boundaries at work today. Stop checking email after 5 p.m. Stop volunteering for extra projects that don't advance your goals. Reclaim your energy incrementally. See how it feels to care a little bit less about the corporate outcome and a little bit more about your personal outcome. You will likely find that the world doesn't fall apart. In fact, people often respect you more when you respect your own time. Ultimately, the decision to stop working is a declaration of self-worth. It is saying that you are valuable simply because you exist, not because of what you produce. It is accepting that you have done enough, you have contributed enough, you have saved enough. Now it is time to harvest. It is time to enjoy the fruit of your labor. Do not let the fear of the unknown keep you trapped in a known misery. The unknown is where the adventure is. The unknown is where you find out who you are when you aren't an employee. If this conversation has sparked a realization for you, I want you to do one thing today. Look at your calendar for next week. Identify one meeting or task that drains you and ask yourself, does this contribute to my legacy? If not, start planning your exit. Click the like button if you believe your time is more valuable than your stress. And make sure you are subscribed so you don't miss our next video, where we talk about the specific daily habits that keep your brain young after retirement. You have earned your time. Now go enjoy it.